Hey everybody, JC here. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday evening. It's about 10 o'clock in the evening here in Houston. About to head on home. So thought I'd go ahead and do a nice solo FSD drive here and video it. Let's go. Take me home. Take me home, country roads. All right. Pulling out of the parking lot of the convenience store here. Let's see how we do getting out of here. Probably going to have to do a little bit of a U-turn. See what it's going to do. Oh, no. Re-navigated. That's fine. A little bit of a pothole there. So right out of the gate, we took a pothole on directly. That one wasn't too bad, though. By Houston standards, that was really more of like a speed bump. But nonetheless, that was one that we could have tried to avoid. But again, that's one that they're still working on. Again, I'm on 13.2.9, so we all know that it's still kind of 50-50 when it comes to potholes. It's getting really good on object avoidance. I will tell you, it is, I mean, anecdotally, damn near 100% for me now on object avoidance, like things that are in the middle of the road, tire treads, trash cans, trash bags, ceiling fans, whatever fell out of a back of a truck and went into the middle of a road, it has been pretty much spot on 100%. Potholes, on the other hand, that's somewhere in the 25 to 50% success rate right now. But like I said, I am on 13.2.9, and so that is something that is still getting baked in. And when we get version 14 with this 10 times larger model and parameter size, I mean, you know that it's going to have the ability to be a lot better at pothole avoidance. Yeah, so one of the things that I also like to do on these solo FSD drives is a couple of things. I like to take some questions that I got either through YouTube or X, and mainly YouTube. I don't get a lot of questions on X. Most of the time when I post a video on X, most of the people that follow me or that I interact with on X, they also have FSD, and so they're seeing the same things, and they're obviously a lot more active online. My YouTube family, on the other hand, is pretty much the opposite. So I actually like that. I like the fact that there's not a lot of cross-pollination between my YouTube subscribers and my X family, if you will. And I'll call it YouTube family as well, because a lot of good people in there. A lot of y'all that can write some doozies of some comments. You know who I'm talking to. But yeah. But on the most part, very, very, very positive on YouTube. So I really appreciate that. Folks that are just curious and inquisitive and interested in possibly getting a Tesla for themselves. So yeah, and also apologies to my YouTube family. I know I am trying to get through your comments as much as I can possibly do it. I am going to go ahead and just start scheduling in some time during each of my days to try to tackle the YouTube comments, because I want to do that. I obviously I devote a pretty good part of my day to being on X, because that's where I get the news. That's where I get educated, right? And so I need to be educated in order to answer some of the questions that folks are asking. So I do spend quite a bit of time on X, being educated by some of the bigger accounts, having some interaction with both those larger accounts as well as similar sized accounts to myself. And so that's obviously really important. And then secondly, obviously the Uber part of my day. When I am out Ubering, there's just no time, right, to really do anything with YouTube or X. And I shouldn't be, right? I purposefully keep the phone either up on my MagSafe or down there, and I do not play with the phone while I am driving. So I just need to build some time into my day every day to tackle YouTube comments. But I was going through some of them last night. I was trying to get caught up as much as I could, and had a couple in there that I wrote down, and I thought I would try to tackle a few of those. And then also, secondly, as y'all know, I love talking to Grok in my Tesla. So thought if we have any time left over from a couple of these questions that I'm going to tackle, then I would do some Grok. So the first question that I got was related to Tesla, robotaxi, and Uber. And what do I see happening with Uber in a world with Tesla robotaxi not just being launched, but being ubiquitous and reaching the goals that Elon and Tesla see it reaching? And then a second part to that same question is, with Tesla robotaxi, what do I see as how do I see Tesla working with individuals and other organizations as far as allowing them to run fleets? So yeah, Tesla, robotaxi, and Uber. So as y'all all know, I do Uber, right? If you don't know I do Uber at this point, then you probably just came across my channel. But yes, I do Uber, and I enjoy doing Uber. I love doing Uber. I love interacting with customers. I love showing people Tesla and the technology inside the Tesla, and obviously the full self-driving. So for me, Uber has been extremely rewarding personally. But all that being said, I am an anecdote, right? And when you back up and you look at the world at large, the demand is not out there for me to continue doing tons of rides out there, manual driver assisted rides, where the cost is at $2, $3, or $4 a mile, and that you're willing to pay that $2 to $4 a mile just to have me sit here and talk to you through an Uber app. And what Tesla robotaxi is ultimately going to be able to provide to folks is the ability to enjoy rideshare services at a fraction of the cost that it costs today. And in some cases, it won't be this way initially, but in many cases, at a significant fraction to what you're incurring today. So I mentioned that it can be anywhere from $2 to $4 an hour. Heck, it can be a lot more than $4 an hour at certain surge times. But on average, it's about $2 to $4 an hour, right? So let's just say that you're paying $2, not an hour, I'm sorry, per mile. Let's just go on the conservative low end of that and say you're paying $2 a mile. I mean, there's a world that folks are talking about out there where you would be paying 8 times less than that. Literally 15 to 25% of that. But the only way that you're going to enjoy that significantly lower cost is if the driver does not exist in the vehicle. That's it. There is no other way for that to happen. Because I'm sorry, I mean, I love y'all to death. I love driving around in my Tesla. I love meeting all of y'all and having great conversations. But nobody, myself included, is going to ride around if rideshare service is, say, 25 to 35 cents a mile, and I get half of that. I'm not going to do that for 15 cents a mile. It just makes no sense, right? Economically, to me, and definitely nobody else is going to do that. And so the only way you're going to enjoy that is in a driverless world. And so that is one of the main goals of Tesla, is to make driverless robotaxi ubiquitous and ultimately cheaper and the better solution. And I know there's some folks that may debate the cheaper versus keeping cost where it is, but my personal belief is there's going to be tiered pricing, and there will be some driverless robotaxi that maybe the costs are similar to what it is today on the higher end. But make no mistake about it, there is going to be a plethora of driverless Tesla robotaxi that is significantly lower than today to the individual, to the customer. It may be paid for in other ways through advertising, through services that are provided in the robotaxi, and the sky's the limit. You know, your mind is the only limit to what kind of services, could be provided within a robotaxi, a typical 15 to 30 minute ride. So it could be advertisers or those third-party service providers that do it. But it's going to be cheaper. And so the question really then comes up is, if the goal of Tesla is to do that, and Uber right now, their business model depends on drivers. It just does. They've started using Waymo, but Waymo is not a cheaper option. Like right now, you can get a driverless Waymo in Austin, Texas through the Uber app, but it's going to be more expensive than the manual driver assisted one. So really the question is does Uber have the ability to pivot into a service where they can match Tesla on pricing, but also be cash flow positive? Because right now, it's very difficult for Uber to be cash flow positive at $2 to $4 a mile. All right, let me pay attention here. It looks like we've got some emergency vehicles. Okay, so they're on the Beltway that way, so we're good to go. So I would personally, this is me, this is JC talking. This is not the Tesla community or other Tesla bulls. And quite frankly, what I'm about to tell you would probably put me in the minority of the Tesla bull community. I want to see Uber survive. I would love to see Uber pivot and find a way to continue to survive and thrive in a driverless world, and in a world where there are a ubiquitous amount of driverless Tesla robotaxis. Because mark my words, and this is going out to any of you Tesla Q, any of you bears out there who may be watching. This is inevitable. This is going to happen. I'm not saying there won't be Waymos. I'm not saying there won't be Zooks, Geelys, or whatever the hell else is out there. But I'm telling you, there are going to be millions upon millions, millions and millions, as The Rock would say, of driverless Tesla robotaxis all over this country and eventually all over this planet. First, they're going to be Model Ys. Then they're probably going to bring some Model 3s in. And ultimately, they're going to bring in the cybercabs. That is going to happen. They put it into Elon's new comp plan. This is going to be Elon's third compensation package. Do I need to remind anyone how Elon did on his previous two compensation packages? He knocked them out of the beep in park. Like, literally as soon as that comp package was finalized and approved by the shareholders, within 2 to 3 years, that thing was sauce. So, we have a third. Elon Musk, Señor El Jefe, Ilano Muscavo, has a new comp plan. And when that plan is approved, one of the tranches in that plan is that there needs to be 1 million robotaxis. And I'm telling you, that's one of the early tranches. Some of the later tranches involve EBITDA multiples. And EBITDA, for those of you, I want to make sure that is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So, in essence, that is one of the ways that analysts like to look at earnings of a company, where you don't include things like impairments or restructuring charges or taxes, things like, things that aren't truly operational, right? And so some of those EBITDA numbers are EBITDA figures that no company is achieving. So we're talking about some, but like I said, Elon Musk, El Jefe, El Señor Ilano Musco, has had dos compensation packages before. And he knocked them both out of the park way before their timelines were up. This new one is going to have several tranches. I believe it's a dozen. I could be wrong on that. Don't hold me to that, but it's a lot. It's like anywhere from 8 to 12. I think it's a dozen. And it's a 10-year plan. And if history says anything, he's probably going to achieve that plan he's going to achieve that plan. History says that he would achieve that plan in 3 to 5 years. I don't think he'll achieve. This plan is pretty ambitious because it involves robotaxi and Optimus. I could be wrong, but I'm telling you, it's going to all happen. So the reason I even bring that up is I just don't know how Uber is going to do it. And here's the reason why. Uber does not manufacture vehicles. Uber is dependent on other third parties to manufacture both their vehicles as well as their software, and then finally the LiDAR equipment. that they use, because as many of you may know or may not know, Waymo does have a different approach to autonomy than Tesla does. Yes, they do use some AI, some artificial intelligence, but Waymo uses quite a bit of LiDAR mapping. And as we know, Tesla is vision only in the inference chip. Obviously, in training, they use LiDAR for ground truthing and validation and all that. But from a day-to-day inference chip actually operating the vehicle, it's all vision. So two different approaches. Also, two big, huge approaches is Tesla Robotaxi is dependent upon one company, Tesla. Gee, I wonder if Tesla Robotaxi will be able to get Teslas from Tesla. Can Tesla get Teslas from Tesla? Yes, they can do that. Whereas Uber and Waymo are dependent on drivers and the other vehicle manufacturers. And then to add the coup de grace, the final, just, I don't know, whatever the hell you want to call it, that squeeze, the turning of the dagger, is that when the Cybercab gets launched, and when it reaches that volumetric area of a couple of million plus per year, where they're really churning on those Cybercabs, they're going to be producing those things for 15 to 20,000 bucks each. Maybe not cost to an individual, but the internal manufacturing cost, the actual, whip cars, the actual internal variable and non-variable fixed manufacturing cost of those Cybercabs are probably going to get into the $15,000 to $20,000 range. And I'm being a little conservative on that. I'm talking about when they get to that $2 million plus run rate. I mean, if they're internally manufacturing vehicles at $15,000 to $20,000 internally and using it for robotaxi, how does Uber compete with that? Currently, they obviously couldn't. But let's go a year or 2 or 3 years down the road, which is when Tesla will be at a full run rate, and definitely within 3 years should be at a full run rate on Cybercabs. What are they going to have done at that point? So what Uber is going to have to do is they're going to have to completely rethink their business model. I hope they do. Most of the Tesla bulls, well, let's just be blunt. Most of the Tesla bulls don't do Uber, right? So they just don't care. I mean, look, and you know what? Let me be blunt. Most consumers just aren't going to care. I mean, most consumers go with who's ever cheaper between Uber and Lyft. They don't care about Uber. They don't care about the cash flow positive nature of Uber. Hell, remember back in the days when Uber was just hemorrhaging cash? Were you using them? Yep. Did you care? Nope. So consumers aren't going to care. So really, the only folks that are thinking about Uber are the investors in Uber, which I am not one, but the folks that actually drive for them as well. I do. I like Uber. They've been really, really good to me. So I want to see them pivot. They are not saying the things that they need to be saying right now. I've seen the CEO talk. I just don't like, has he been in a Tesla lately? Has he experienced robotaxi? Did he see Elon's new comp plan? I mean, you know this guy. I mean, come on. I just, he's not saying the things that give me confidence that he's acknowledging what is about to happen. And so I personally hope that Uber does that. I'm also going to say I like Waymo. And Waymo is not only not acknowledging it, they're poo-pooing Tesla out there. They're literally lying about Tesla right now. And man, I want to see them stop doing that, because they are just going to get hit between the forehead and the eyeballs on that one. So to Uber and Waymo, I was going to say plea, but it's not really a plea because I'm not an investor in Google or in Uber. But more so to Uber, because I do have a soft spot in my heart for Uber, being an Uber driver. I want to see them pivot. And guys, if any of y'all see this video, reach out to me. I mean, you don't have to listen to a damn thing I say, but if anybody from Uber would ever like to have a chat with me about what I experience day in and day out, and talk to some other Uber drivers that use FSD. We want to see y'all survive in this. And I do have some thoughts on what they could do in that realm. But it's going to be, you know, they're not going to want to talk because they know that they got to change the business model. And let's just be blunt, they probably got to change their management team. So they're never going to call me. They're never going to call. So to answer the young lady's question, and forgive me, I had you, let me see if, hold on a second, I got a red light. Let me find her name real quick. I wanted to give her a shout out. It is Jassy Jitsu. So yeah, let me make sure I got that right. Yep. Jassy Jitsu. Great question on that. So I hope I answered your question about robotaxi and Uber. I just don't think it's going to happen, Jesse. I don't think Uber is doing the things it needs to do to pivot. To the second part of your question, yes, Tesla has publicly stated that they want individuals to be part of fleet ownership. They want individuals. Now, here's where some Tesla bulls are going to part ways and don't like it. There's some Tesla bulls that are like, Tesla should own everything. And there's some good arguments to that. The only problem is in order to scale this thing up to where it's millions upon millions, 10 millions upon 10 millions, that's going to take a lot of capital. And that's why there's companies that franchise, right? Some of the greatest, largest organizations in the world work through a franchise operation, because that way you don't have to shoulder the capital burden nearly as much, and you scale quicker, right? McDonald's is a great example. I don't want to, hold them out completely, but, yeah, my personal belief is I see no scenario where Tesla does not try to use individuals, as fleet owners and operators to help them for two reasons: to help with capital and to help with scaling. And what I mean by capital is, if you want to get to 10 million robotaxis, 1 million and 10 million and 100 million, you don't want to own all those yourself. You don't want all those on your own balance sheet. That is not an efficient balance sheet. You want others to buy them from you. Don't get me wrong, Tesla's definitely going to have their own robotaxi fleet. They're going to be the hub, but then everybody else is going to plug and play into that. Just like McDonald's do. McDonald's, the majority of they have a ton of company-owned operations. Anywho, so yeah, individuals will definitely be able to do that. And in fact, Jassy, that is one of the things that I have kind of wanted to take on myself a bit, is reaching out to current Uber drivers and any questions they might have about Tesla. And I want to see them really kind of get to the front of the line in being robotaxi fleet operators. I'd love to see them get to the front of the line. Let's see what we're going to do here. Oh, Is it going to try to back up? Let's see what it's doing. I got my sister-in-law here. No, she's not. Get right in behind her car. Let's see if we're going to try to park it. I think it's going to try to park along the side here. I don't know. I'm not sure what it's trying to do right now. Yeah, I think it was trying to find a place to park in front of my house, and then maybe... No, we're not going to go in there. It loves my neighbors. Parking, like, more so than mine. I don't get it. Like, stay out of my neighbor. It's funny. But, so yeah, Jesse, hopefully I answered your question there. There will definitely be fleet operators within the Tesla robotaxi network. So let me on up here. Got the light on in my garage. I'm gonna stop there. All right. So, all right. Well, we finished out this drive. I did get through one of my questions. There was another question. I had some questions on my windshield and the process for that. So I figured I'd go ahead and just kind of go through the entire process I went through with Tesla and the windshield. That one shouldn't be too long. But I did want to spend some time on the robotaxi, Uber, and personal fleet operator. So, Jassy, let me know if I answered that to your satisfaction. Great question. So yeah, I will go through some more. We didn't get through the windshield and we didn't get to Grok, but we'll do that on one of the upcoming solo FSD drives. Well, all right, everybody. I hope you're having a great evening, and I'll try to get this downloaded and uploaded as soon as I can. You know, I love all of you, and I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye-bye.